Welcome to the Showgirl Connection. I'm your host, Luann. Today in the studio, I have Fred Doumani, Lark Williams, and Cindy Doumani with me. And we're all just going to be talking about Las Vegas because we all have that wonderful Las Vegas history and connection as far as being in the shows. Cindy started out in the 50s as you toured with Gypsy Rose Lee.
Yes, wow. I did. And then I worked with her sister, June Havoc, at the Thunderbird. I'm the only showgirl that worked with both sisters.
Oh, that's great.
And they were both very mothering.
Nice.
And really lovely.
And you headlined your own show in Hawaii.
Yes.
And then the Thunderbird here in Las Vegas is when you were with
yes.
June Havoc and Gypsy Rose Lee.
Yes.
Okay.
In Hawaii, I was a Tahitian dancer.
Nice. Yeah. No, you've got some great history. And then we've got Lark, who was a Follies girl. And you grew up here.
Since I'm 8 years old, 8.5 years old. From
Graduated
California originally. I went to school here, grade school, high school, junior high school, all of that.
And college.
And college, yes. Yeah, my radio career started here. And being a showgirl is still an absolute highlight of my entire life. It was so special to be a kid here and to be able to see the shows, and everybody, right. You were lucky if you were a kid to even get into the shows or alone in a hotel. Everybody dressed, it was just such a fabulous time. Yes. And I don't want to denigrate what it's, because everything is always perpetual change, but it was a magical time to live here and grow up here and just be a part of, like my father, who was from South Dakota and worked in all the hotels, helped expand so many of them. It was a great time where the guys that he worked with were, what do you mean I got to sign a contract? My handshake isn't good enough for you. And it was all the way business was done with your word. And it was just a beautiful time.
Yeah, and especially for Fred, because Fred, you were born and raised here as well, right?
Born and raised. Yep.
And I know your family owned the La Concha, built the pepper mill, El Morocco.
Wow.
So were you just hanging out down there as a kid in the hotels?
I was hanging out in the hotels. Then when my father owned the Tropicana for a number of years, I was there every day after school. I was an avid golfer, so I would go right to the golf course, play 9 holes, then walk over to the hotel. So I knew all the casino owners and the managers, and it was a great place to grow up.
Did you ever take dance classes? Did Cindy ever encourage you to take dance classes?
I don't think she encouraged me. I actually took a few ballroom dances.
Okay. Well, we like to have that.
I thought it was nice.
That showgirl dancing connection. And I know Cindy's, she's the iconic showgirl of us all.
Well, 93 years old. That's a long time.
And you've got a great story about Fred when he was little at the La Concha.
With Cassius Clay.
Right.
Freddie was 2.5 years old. And Muhammad Ali, he became Muhammad Ali, he was staying at our El Morocco. And every day, Freddie would say, I want to fight Cassius. And I would take him over there every day And Cassius Clay, I told him once, if my son grows up to be half the man you are, I'll be grateful.
And has he?
Right.
Yes.
Is he half the man?
Yes, he
Wow.
has. And
Don't know about that.
well, there are things I don't know too.
Yeah, those are
But-
big shoes.
But every day,
Yeah.
and one day I filmed it in the parking lot with you
Right.
fighting Cassius. And he
Wow.
knocks you out and then he
No.
counts and he's the greatest. And that is on the documentary for Muhammad Ali on PBS.
Right.
Wow.
You are on PBS.
I know.
But that must, like you said, it must just been really fun to grow up here, because when I came here in 1978, there were 350,000 people,
Right.
which wasn't very many. But if you guys were here in the 60s,
I was here in 63,
Yeah.
and it was just, not a town for kids. In a sense, there wasn't a lot for us to do, water balloon fights and things like that, when you're 8 years old. But here's what's interesting, is kids I went to school with were people like Ava Minsky Follies, the Molaskis, who built half of the town. They're all
Yeah.
people whose parents, or for example, Kathy Rich, Buddy Rich. I remember a quick story. And Kathy and I were very good friends, and I used to spend the night at her house. And I'd say to my mom, "Is it okay if I spend the night at Kathy's house?" "Oh, sure." Okay. So one time I come home, Kathy says, "Listen, my dad says we can go to work with him." Well, now I knew that he was a drummer. I'd been to her house. I knew her mother was a showgirl, and so I come. But she says we have to dress up because again, we can't. We're going to be in the light booth. But my dad says you can come with me, and we can both go.
well,
to
back
the
in
show.
the day,
This is-
everybody dressed up, which
this
was
is at the
Yes,
Sands.
yes, glamorous.
There's Sands,
Yes.
the Copa Room. So I come home to my mom and I said, "So, Mom, is it okay if I spend the night at Kathy's house?" "Oh, yeah, sure, but I need to have to dress up because we're going to work with her dad." And my mom looks at me like, "What exactly is it her dad does that you're going to be going to work with him tonight?" My mother had every album in the world of every type of music, from Ray Charles to the Music Man. We listened to everything classical, but she loved Frank Sinatra. And I went over to the album, got the one with him with the fedora on, and I go over and I pointed at the album. I said, "He's the drummer for Frank Sinatra." My mom about lost her. "What's Kathy's last name?" "Is it Kathy Rich?" "Yes, you can go." Yes, of course you can go. She's dressing me up. And so my mother was 5'2", 44 double D. I'm barely
and you're
12, 13.
6
Well,
foot.
not when you're 12, 13. She puts me in, and it's the 60s. So it's the mini that she's putting makeup on me, scoots me out the door. And I'll tell you what's interesting about this story is I think the impact it had on me that night changed the course of my life. Being backstage, and the tone of it was everybody was standing. I got introduced to Sammy Davis Jr., Joey Bishop, Dean Martin.
Wow.
We're all right there, but everybody kept staring at one door. And Buddy was very intense. And it was like, you're sensitive as a kid and you're reading the room. And I go, what's behind that door? And we're all there. I don't know what to expect. I just know I love this energy. I love being here with all these exciting people. And the next thing I see that door open, and everybody's looking. Frank walks out of his door. We're in beelines for us. Takes my hand and says, "I understand you're Kathy's friend.
Wow.
Well, aren't you a lovely little girl? What's your name?" And kisses my hand. I look up at him. I don't know what the word charisma was at that age, but this guy, whatever this is,
He's got it.
I was never the
Yeah.
same. And then we see the show, and everyone knew he must have won at the tables because depending upon his mood, the show started when Frank came out of the room. The tone of how it was going to be was how was his day. Had the drink in his hand, the cigarettes, just like you could imagine. It was unbelievable. I had such the time of my life that night in the light booth, and then afterwards we were there till 4 a.m. It was,
Wow.
and you look at the course of my career, where have I spent most of my time? Backstage with rock and roll stars, interviewing and with shows, but it's the backstage and all of that. It's really unbelievable. That Frank Sinatra, you talk about a rock star, that's There it is. It was unbelievable night.
Well, Cindy you have a Frank Sinatra story.
I do. I was in Japan for 6 months, and Frank Sinatra came through with Jimmy Van Heusen, who was a friend of mine. My mother told him how to contact me, 1960, because
Wow.
we didn't have cell phones in those days. And Frank was such a gentleman, and he had his limousine drive me all around Tokyo. I had my own show over there. And then back to Las Vegas, I was on the Frank Rosenthal TV
I
show.
remember.
And Frank Sinatra went on and bought the first ticket for a home for abused and battered children. And I have a photo of him holding the ticket. He bought the first one. He was really a gentleman.
Yes, he was.
People don't realize
No,
that,
he was incredible.
but he was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I saw him.
Incredible performer, but
Yeah.
over everything else, he was kind. Again,
Yes.
the stories about when they weren't going to let Sammy Davis Jr. stay. It's a famous story. He couldn't eat in the same restaurant where the rest of the Rat Pack were. And Frank said, that's not going to happen. Then we won't be performing here.
Wow.
They wanted him to be at the Moulin Rouge over, on the West Side. And I hadn't heard that story until years later. But you're talking about way back then, there was prejudice. And Frank said, no, that's not, he's going to eat with us. He's eating at this restaurant and he's going to be wherever we are, he is. So,
That's a great
I
story.
mean,
Yeah.
That's a great
what
story.
Yeah.
what a thing for him to say. He didn't care. He was not going
Yeah.
to, it says a lot about his character and his integrity, I think.
Well, and I can't
Yes.
even imagine because there's no discrimination like that today. But if you have like a best friend that, like we were dancing in the shows together or something, and they couldn't eat with us, or they had
Yes.
well, we went in and out of the backstage door anyway with the elephants. But I mean, if you
Right.
couldn't, if someone that I knew couldn't come into the casino, it would be hard not to
Yeah.
stand up.
It
for-
would be
I mean,
hard.
it still might be a little bit intimidating too because you're going against the norm. But for him, that's really great that he stood
Well,
up.
we're not raised that way. He
Yes.
wasn't raised that way. Elvis was the same way. Elvis was an incredible blues singer because, and the same thing, and
That's right.
I wasn't raised that way, but I remember hearing that story about Frank. But of course, as a little kid, my first impression was just for him to take that time, and obviously Buddy Kathy said that Kathy's bringing a friend. He probably had to clear it. Buddy Rich probably had to, but it was really one of the most magical times. Like I said, I think it changed a lot of the course of my career.
Right.
And then being a showgirl, there's just nothing like the magic that it was. And the time will never be like that
No.
again.
No.
And it was an honor, truly an unbelievable
was.
honor. The way people, when I toured, the way you were received anywhere out of this country as well.
Yes.
Dignitaries of presidents of state and dignitaries and heads of company wanted to meet the showgirls,
That's right.
right?
The showgirls were known. That was what brought people to Las Vegas,
That's
the
right.
glamour. The showgirls were the glamour. And that everybody wanted to meet one
That's
and
right.
have a picture taken with one.
That's right.
It was really an honor.
It was.
Mhm.
Yes.
And that's why you had the most incredible costumes. How did it feel? I mean, the costumes, both of you,
Oh,
you know
yeah,
what I
I
mean?
mean,
I know how
well,
I
Bob-
felt when you put them on. It's just, you feel special.
Mhm.
Yes, well, in 1949, on the way to the Grand Canyon, my family stopped here to see the show at El Rancho Vegas. And when I saw the dinner show and the showgirls, I thought, I'll be a secretary during the day to please my father, but I'm going to dance at night. And I went to USC for 2 years, quit and joined a show, and never looked back.
Wow.
It was the most incredible time of my life. The music, just the
Mhm.
whole grandeur of the shows and the singers and the dancers. And
Mhm.
it was wonderful.
It really
Well,
was.
The live music. You had the
Yes,
huge
the
stages.
orchestra.
they
Live
had the-
orchestras.
Right.
I know.
And they were in the basement. I remember the live orchestra was in the basement up in Reno and Hello Hollywood, Hello. You couldn't even see them, but you could hear them. And it was
That's
so
right.
much fun to dance with live orchestras.
Magical.
And those Jubilee finale costumes were Bob
Oh, my
Mackie
gosh.
costumes. Those were Bob Mackie costumes. I think they started out at like $10,000 a costume. I mean, it was when they opened up Jubilee in 1980, it was a $10 million show. and there was a worldwide shortage of Swarovski crystals. Right, and we got to wear them.
Unbelievable.
In fact, we were talking, Lark and I, we just met yesterday, but we would have met each other in November of 1980,
We would.
except for, I'll let you start that
Oh,
story
gosh.
because that was a really interesting
A
story.
little thing called the MGM Grand Hotel fire.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I was in that fire. I was running Keno on Graveyard, which was 2 a.m. till 10 a.m. And ironically, it was supposed to be one of my last nights running Keno because I wasn't a senior Keno runner. So I ran the back half of the hotel, which would mean the Parisian bar, the deli, the
Where the
coffee
fire
shop,
started.
and we had a remote station where I would pick up the tickets, put them in the tube like at a bank, and you send them to the pit. And the girls who had been there longer got to run the pit area and the poker area, which is where people like, what was his name? Red Fox. And you had a lot of poker players that also would play Keno. So they were, making a lot of tips. So I was on that back end. And I remember that one of the people I had met who was in the coffee shop late at night was Don Arden. And Don Arden had said
the
to me one
producer of
day,
Jubilee.
he said, "What are you doing running Keno? You should be a showgirl." And I said, "Well, I was. I had just come off tour with a Folie Bergère, and they were in between. There weren't auditions or openings for the Tropicana. So my dad, picked up the phone to Maria Yeager, said, "Can you get my daughter a job running Keno?" So that's what I was doing in between. I had done radio, but in between, what is my next step? So Don Arden says, "My show is already underway, but do you know Rich Rizzo?" "Yes, I know Rich Rizzo." "Go see him. Tell him I sent you. Rehearsals were at 10:30 in the morning. I had 2 a.m. shift till 10 a.m. So it was perfect." So we were just working out that I was going to make a shift. And then there was the MGM Grand Hotel fire. And I will never forget that night because I had stocked the deli. Earlier, it was one of the things that we did, make sure there's the Keno crayons and papers. And if it's a really slow night, which it was, fill up the pepper and the salt. And we did all of that. And then I said, something is odd. I picked up my remote phone. I said to my boss, I said, something is going on here. He says, "Are you running tickets? You have people's money? Don't you worry about it. Security's on it. It's a trash can fire or something. Well, don't you worry about it." So I kept running the coffee shop, which was right next to the deli, until, you have smoke. You can't see. You don't realize that you were not trained. We talked about this.
Right.
No, I didn't know where any of the emergency
No,
exits were
I didn't
at
either.
that end of the hotel. I knew where my car was parked, employee parking. I knew how to come in the back of the hotel and come up the escalator in my
Right.
Keno uniform. But all I knew is I'm going to have to go. I knew how to run a very fast pattern to the front of the hotel where the
valet was.
the porte cochere, the valet, those spinning, and all the windows were. And essentially that's how a lot of us got out. And the interesting thing about when you're rushing to the only exit but everybody you've worked with. These are dealers, these are cocktail waitresses, these are faces you've seen every night. There's no, in a concert situation, for example, you would have a stampede going to the one
Right.
door.
Yeah.
People get killed that way.
Yeah.
But this wasn't like that. "Oh, you go first," the dealers say. "No, you guys go." I still have my Keno tray. I told you run people's money? Had my Keno tray. I grabbed my purse. And when you see flames shooting out or the firefighters and the smoke, it was just an unbelievable panicked situation that changed again. One of those simple twists of fate changed the course of my life. So I didn't go into the show. I went back to the one thing I had already known, which was broadcasting, radio. And so who knows, why things happen. But
You could have been in Jubilee with us for a little while and then gone into
I would have loved
broadcasting.
the
But yeah,
crystals,
we were in rehearsals.
the
and
Bob Mackie costumes.
Yeah, the Bob Mackie costumes. We were in rehearsals and we got let out about 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. that night. We got out early. But we'd been, I'd been dancing in Hallelujah Hollywood,
Right.
6 nights a week, 2 shows a night, 3 on Saturday. And we were rehearsing 5 days a week. And we just closed Hallelujah Hollywood. We were on the stage. We'd gotten all the sets and the costumes. We were doing run-throughs.
It was
We were like
such
just
a open.
weeks out.
It was
Weeks out
close
from
to
opening.
Yeah.
And that fire.
Yeah.
Devastating.
And it changed the course of your life because
Well,
You
then I
didn't
went to
wait,
the Lido.
so you went
Well,
to the
yeah, I mean,
incredible
we all
show.
had been promised contracts, but it was like 8 months before they could open up the hotel. So all the other shows were trying to, fill people in. And so I went over to the Lido.
How many people stayed? It could last the
You know,
8
I
months.
think there were quite a few people that were in the rehearsals that went back to the original cast when they opened up. I think there was, I mean, I can't tell you what percentage it is.
Yeah.
And maybe some people just took advantage of the shows being closed. Maybe they picked up some other jobs. But
Well, what a great, they were all great shows.
yeah, and I loved being
They
in the
were.
Lido.
Casino
So, yeah.
de Paris, Frederick Carr's shows,
Yeah.
they were all elegant shows. You know what I would love to know from both of you, and maybe you, if you have on stage experience, it is inevitable sometimes during a live show that something, whether it's a costume faux pas or something, can go wrong. Did you ever have, or the shoe breaks, or did you ever have a story where, ruh-roh, something happened to me, or when you were performing all the shows that you've done all over the world, anything go wrong that you had?
Not that I can think of.
Oh my gosh.
You were lucky.
I was.
Well, and
I was
the
lucky.
funny thing is that if something went wrong, usually people start laughing because you're doing the same thing night after night after night. So it kind of break the monotony if
Right.
somebody tripped or somebody, just so long as you didn't get stampeded.
Right.
But I remember coming off the stairs at the Lido, and we had the big pinwheels on and the hats, and I tripped somehow and I fell onto the stage. And my first thought was, everybody's coming
no.
behind me and I better get up. So I jumped up, and then you got on the passerelle and I'm doing my little dance number, and my hat was like sideways, and people were kind of smiling at me, because I was dancing in front of people. And when I went off stage, I'd like had my knee got all scraped up and it was bleeding, but I wasn't hurt that bad. But people, you couldn't help but laugh.
Right.
You didn't want people to be hurt, but it was just something that kind of took you out of that monotony, right?
Yeah.
But you continued, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. The
There's
show must
no-
go on. No,
That's right.
no, they didn't stop.
Right.
That's
Of
For
course.
anything.
for anything. That's right. We should probably take a quick commercial break, but we'll come back and talk about more about the shows and growing up in Las Vegas and just
Okay.
that wonderful Showgirl connection and Las Vegas history. So don't go away.
Okay.
The Showgirl Legacy Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to preserving the historic significance of the iconic showgirl as a performing artist. We achieve this through curriculum-based educational programs in partnership with the Las Vegas Academy of the Arts. The program includes a panel of entertainers and showgirls modeling authentic costumes for the visual arts students to paint. The students submit their artwork to the Showgirl Art Competition that becomes the annual Showgirl Art and Costume Exhibit. The foundation also represents guest speakers that give historical presentations about the Las Vegas Stage Show Spectaculars and their personal experiences. The speaker brings authentic show costumes for photo ops and tailors their presentations for conferences, conventions, luncheons, museums, and other venues. Recently added to the Foundation's repertoire is the talk show The Showgirl Connection with your host, Luann. She interviews former and current showgirls, dancers, entertainers, and all the people behind the scenes that make the magic happen. The Showgirl Connection wouldn't be possible without the partnership and support of WWDBTV and owner John Stiles. Learn more about us at showgirllegacy.org and castandcrewreunion.com. For questions, email us at info@showgirllegacy.org.
If you want attention, you need more than an ad. You need a presence. Welcome to WWDBTV, your internet streaming TV station built for business and people. We create high-impact commercials and video podcasts with pro production. Then we help distribute your show where audiences already watch and listen. Your brand, your story. Broadcast ready. On streaming, on social, and beyond. Ready to be seen? Visit WWDBTV.com and book your production today.
Kid,
Okay, we're back with Fred, Lark, and Cindy, and we've been talking about the shows I would like, since we've got people that have been here for many, many decades, I'd like to know a little bit more about your thoughts of how things have changed, right? How the entertainment world has changed. I mean, we know that the Showgirl shows aren't here anymore, but Fred, talk a little bit about what you saw growing up and what's happening now in the Strip and your thoughts about entertainment history.
Well, as far as the shows, I was very fortunate that my parents took me to see Elvis, Tom Jones, Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis, you name it, I got to see them all. Johnny Cash. And I love music to begin with. So when you're very young and you're exposed to all of that, all the music was live. It wasn't canned like it is in some shows today. I know many of the larger entertainers or bigger ones like a Celine Dion would have a live band, but I miss that.
Well, so and how has it progressed today? I mean, you must still go see
I do.
different shows, and like who are the people currently that you like to go see? Because I know Cindy's always out looking, going to different shows and watching and seeing
Yes.
entertainment. So what are your thoughts about what's going on today?
It depends. It depends on who's playing. I saw Tom Jones a few years ago at the Wind, and he
Okay.
was fantastic. I saw the Eagles at the Sphere,
Oh,
and I saw U2 there as well. Both great concerts.
do you have a favorite venue now, or did you have a favorite venue as a kid that you went to?
The Aladdin, because
Oh, wow.
the bigger bands would play there.
That's right.
Because
Yeah.
Vegas didn't get that many.
That's right.
Like Van Halen played there, Queen played there. I got to see
Peter
Queen.
Frampton did the first double nights in '76 with Frampton Comes Alive. That was the first double nighter for a rock group at the Aladdin Theater. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow! And we saw the Aladdin when it opened. I mean, I went there opening night for the first show, which was
Who was it?
I know
We should both know that.
I
It's a
know
good
his
trivia
name.
question.
Yeah.
It's a
It wasn't Neil Diamond.
Neil Diamond.
Oh,
Winner!
That's it. How could I forget that? I was just talking about him. a
you
week
won the
ago.
prize.
Yeah.
So did you ever want to
incredible.
be
He
an
was
entertainer? Did you ever take any kind of music or play any
Some
instruments?
music, little guitar and violin. Not
Oh,
very
nice.
good. I wish I would have pursued it more. I love music.
But you're more of a golfer.
Golf and
Well,
skiing.
there's some great golf courses in this town.
Yes. Yeah. When I grew up on one, the Desert Inn, which is now the
Oh,
Wynn,
yeah.
completely
Okay.
different golf course. And then I played the Tropicana every day from 11 to about 19 years old.
I would love to
Wow.
know, because like a lot of kids, for example, like Kathy Rich, the lounges had great music. And they were
Yes.
going.
They have great
all-
shows too.
Well, like even
Dance shows.
Frank's show, it would end when they were done. There wasn't really a clock on that. But you were exposed to every kind of music, like
was.
myself, where there was just so many great musicians.
Louis Prima, Sammy.
Oh my gosh, went to school with those guys.
Yeah, I
Yeah, you did
went to
great.
school with
Lena,
Leanne.
yeah.
Lena, and we were in first and second grade together at Las Vegas Day School. And Sam Butera,
Yep.
I went to his shows.
The
and
Witnesses, Sam Butera and the Witnesses,
Yeah.
they were the best musicians. He surrounded himself with Richie Varola and Ronnie James and all those guys I had crushes on.
Did you guys go to the same high school?
I have a few. He listened to me on the radio when he was in high school. So I got a few years, a lot more
Okay,
years
yeah.
on him. So when he was growing up, yeah. But I remember still you were around, even as a kid, you probably being in the hotel a lot, got a taste of the lounges. You could be.
Always.
I mean,
yeah.
Michael Skeevil grew up at the Sahara Hotel, and when he was a kid, he was hanging out at all hours of the night with the cocktail waitresses, and at least according to his book.
Sure.
But you could be in the hotel at any time because your parents owned it.
That's right.
Right. And Rodney Dangerfield, I'd
Oh,
see in the
that's right.
lounge. And then I was on the golf course so much, Nat Brandywine would putt on the greens, and he was an incredible putter. And he was Sinatra's orchestra leader. Right?
Wow. Wow.
And so he taught me a technique.
So you
in
knew
putting.
some really incredible golfers on the course.
Oh yeah. I mean, I played every day, almost from 8 to really 18 years old. So you couldn't help but get to a certain level. So by the time I was 15, 16, like I was saying earlier, I'd already known a lot of the casino guys because of my father, but then they were always on the golf course. And so by the time I was 15, 16, I got to be really good at 16, and I played with them. You know, there's gambling on the golf
Of
course.
course, there has to be. Come on.
So
And
it was a lot of fun.
So when
That's
did you and Fred
awesome.
own the
That's
Tropicana?
amazing.
Sorry, I was just trying to figure
I
out,
think from 74 to 1920
or
or
19,
1919. I mean,
no, wait,
No, from
1974 to 1980.
Well, didn't Alan-
That's when you had the
Right,
Tropicana.
That's when we had the Tropicana.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Didn't Alan Lee help make that? Alan Lee was a producer for the Folie Bergère. It's his godfather. Very close friends. Didn't he have something to do with helping that sale
Who was
happen? Alan Lee.
Oh, Alan Lee.
Didn't he have something to do with the Nancy Briggs had it, and then I forget what the story was, or Alan's story, Alan's version.
He may have to some degree. I didn't know.
I know.
And I
Like
was-
I said, there's many versions. You know, when the real people aren't around, to say, is that true that Alan helped
Yeah.
negotiate that deal for your
if he
dad?
said something like that, it's
I
probably
thought your
true.
dad said
If
that
he
to
said
me.
Yeah,
what?
then it's true.
And so he
I'm
was-
unaware of
if
that,
he-
but
if-
Alan was
If he said what?
a great man. There was no one like
he
him.
was incredible.
and he was your godfather.
No, that's a miss. He was like a godfather.
like a
I never
What
had.
were you-
I
what were you
loved
saying that
Alan
he said?
beyond words.
That I thought his dad said that Alan helped negotiate that deal for the sale. I thought your dad said that when
He
I saw
might
you
have.
guys
I should.
at
I'll
the
ask my
Italian
dad.
American Club.
I-
Yeah, I thought that's what your dad said.
Okay.
And you know, Alan had his hands in so many things. He was quite the wheeler dealer, knew how to navigate his way around a negotiation. But I
Right.
thought I heard your dad said that at the Italian American Club, and I didn't know that.
Could be.
but-
He was very diplomatic.
right.
He could solve any problem or dispute between
Right.
people. I really loved him.
And his wife was Toko.
Yes.
And once a week, she would come over to cook dinner. She went to gourmet cooking school. And she would come over once a week to cook that dinner. And Ronnie, your brother, was 3 years old. And I would say, Toko's coming over tonight. Toko's coming over? He would sit in the front room and wait all day for
He
Toko.
had a crush
That
on
was his
Aw.
first
Right.
love.
Miss Coco.
Sweet as that.
Yeah.
Yes.
He had good taste. He has good
Yeah,
taste.
she was
right?
beautiful.
She was a
We
beautiful
loved
lady.
Toko.
So what was it
Yes.
like for you, Cindy, raising two guys or two boys in Las Vegas?
Well, it was a lot different. I'm the youngest of three girls, and then I have boys. And it was different. Instead of going to ballet class, I'd go to baseball, football, Pop Warner football or baseball. It was completely different. But
Right.
the one thing is I had horses, but they didn't ride. The horses, if my father were here, my boys could have ridden them because he would train his own horses, but they were too wild to put you on it.
I rode a little bit. Well, not really.
You what?
I rode a little bit. I mean, I
You
can
did ride
I
a
can't ride
couple.
like you, but
Right, the saddle horse.
I don't remember
The-
which.
No, but that's one part of my life that was wonderful, the horses.
I guess you were out on the golf course. You weren't paying attention to the horses.
No, but I went to camp in Arizona 2 years
Okay.
in a row. 4 weeks one year, 5 the other, and we did
That's
a lot of
right.
horseback riding, even galloping, and I mean long distances. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
What was the name of that? Started with a T.
Camp Takaloma.
Oh, boy.
Sounds like a movie.
Takaloma, right.
Sounds like a movie, but it was a great experience.
So that must have been nice for you to get out of Las Vegas in the
Yes.
summers.
Yes.
Because I know I raised my son here, but he went up to Alaska in the summers to get out of the heat. He worked with his
Yes.
dad up in Alaska. Yeah.
That's right.
Wasn't it
So-
hotter for us growing up back then? It seemed like it used to be
I-
hotter.
It did. It seemed like it
Well,
was.
there would have been less,
Well, there was less cement
Less
back
humidity
then.
too, because there was less golf courses
less
and
golf,
okay.
less trees.
water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
non-indigenous trees, and yeah, it seemed like it was. I just remember coming from California when we moved here in '63. We were at that time coming from Costa Mesa, so you had the beach, you had
What part of LA?
Costa Mesa, right where Newport Beach, Costa Mesa area, and I was
Right.
born in the Bay Area up in San
Okay.
Francisco. My
Oh.
father was a merchant marine, ported in and out of San Francisco, and then ported in and out of Long Beach, and my aunts and uncles and everybody was down there. Well, when we made that move in '63, where my parents had decided to move here, he was going to start his own air conditioning business, and my mom didn't want him going off to sea anymore. That drive, when you first get to the desert, I had never seen a desert before.
Right. Yeah.
And we are in I think 1957 Ford Fairlane. My dad's ahead of us with a U-Haul air conditioned truck. And I'm in the back seat with my sister going, oh, this is not going to work for me. Whatever this is, I've heard of hell. I'm pretty sure this is it. I never saw a tumbleweed. Where's the trees? Where's the ocean? And it was the middle of summer. We moved. So my mother, what does she do? She rolls down the window. Oh, now I got an oven. Now I got the oven air coming in. And I progressively, as we drive to Las Vegas, that I'd heard so much about, my parents always used to go there. And my uncle was in bars, so they'd leave us and they'd all go to Las Vegas. I was having none of this. And I sat down with my parents and I said, I'm going to tell you something. You two can do this, but I'm not. And my mother says, well, sweetie, what's your plan? I have my bicycle and I've got my roller skates. You have those skates that clipped on your shoes. And she says, you're going to roller skate back to California? Yes, I am. and she says, and who you have to stay with? My aunt and uncle. I'm going back there. I'm not doing this. She said, do you know where California is? And I just pointed, it's that way over the mountains. But you're 8 years old. You've left your friends. You've got to go to a new school. All of it just was a shock. And yet, then look at the people that I started to meet. Ava Minsky was one of my best friends. And I remember we'd go through her mom's closet. She had all the showgirl costumes and the dresses. And I went, well, this isn't so bad. And they had this big, beautiful round house with a pool in the center. And so once you make friends, then you can adjust anywhere. But it was, I had a plan. I was going to strap my skates on, and in 100 million degree heat, I'm going to roller skate back to California.
And I remember, Cindy, your story is that you thought you were coming here for 6 months, right?
Yes. And never when we built the La Concha, Fred Sr. said, we'll only be there 6 months.
Uh-oh.
And we never left. Griffith Park?
Yes.
Well, I know every trail in that park. I wanted to go back and ride horses with my dad every day, and we never left. And then we built the El Morocco.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
the Riviera.
Mill, and yes.
And the
But
La
I love
Concha.
it here.
Yeah.
I remember when you could walk down the strip at 1 or 2 in the morning. And I used to walk from the La Concha with my dog up to the sand, never afraid. Now,
right.
during the day, I don't want to walk down.
And
That-
you used
that's
to
a big
ride your
difference.
horses
That's a
like,
big difference now.
you were out riding your horses
Day and night. Yes, I would.
out into the desert.
Yes, before
Wow.
I lived here, when I was a showgirl, I'd rent a horse at the.
Daydream Ranch?
Yes,
I was out there
You
all
won
the
the
time.
other prize.
That's where I was hanging out.
right. And then I'd go to the show at night and ride.
Oh.
And dance. And in San Francisco, I worked at Bimble's 365 Club.
Oh my gosh.
And I would rent a horse and ride under the Golden Gate Bridge on the beach.
You could do that?
Yes, and it was a beach.
Ah.
And then I'd go to the
That's-
showroom at night. And the same, I'd ride
Heavenly.
through the Golden Gate Park also.
Golden Gate Park,
Yeah.
one of the best parks ever. You could ride your horse in the park.
Yes. Well, I rent a horse.
Well, you're right, but you're still riding
Yeah.
in that
Oh, right.
And on the
incredible
beaches.
environment.
Yes.
Well, weren't you riding your horses in Hawaii too?
Yes, but
On
my
the
friend,
beaches?
this friend of mine, he was a polo player, and he had a ranch on the other side of Oahu, and I used to ride there all the time.
Beautiful.
And I had another friend who had a ranch up in Kaneohe, and I used to ride all over the island, and even Kauai and the Big Island and Maui. I was in a rodeo. They have actually a Western rodeo on Maui, and I rode in that.
That.
No,
And
Hawaii.
you rode your horse here down the Las Vegas Strip in the El Dorado Day
Yes.
parade.
Well, El Dorado
Yes.
days, of course,
Yeah.
that would be.
I have a photo of him. I'll show you.
Well, we can put it up on the screen so
Yeah.
our
we
audience
all,
can see it
I
as
brought
well.
photos for
You know,
you too.
you know
so-
Jackie Bascal, right?
Yes,
Yes.
of course.
Okay.
Yep.
Tell them the story when you were riding your horse.
Which one now?
You were riding your horse, I forgot on what street, and you were walking and Jackie Bascow pulled up with her car?
Oh, yes, I forget which street it was, but I was riding and this friend of mine pulled up. She was shocked to see me riding.
That was a long time ago, but I remember
Yes,
that
I
like
have
it was
to show
yesterday.
you.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I remember Jackie Bascow, when I was at the Lido, she had just started her agency, and half of the people on her original poster of talent was from the Lido. So I've still got that original poster of all
She's a
all
great
the show
lady.
people. She is.
That's the
Wow,
Hill
an
Dorado
incredible
Parade
picture.
in
Yeah.
1986.
Wow.
My pal, and I have that silver saddle. It's in my hallway. It's the famous Boland silver
That's
saddle.
incredible. Yeah, you have to put that up on the screen.
It's there.
I'm
Guaranteed.
You can't see it from here,
Guaranteed
but yeah, it's
it will be up
beautiful.
there.
Absolutely
Yeah.
incredible.
And he was
Yeah.
half
Stunning.
Arabian, half quarter horse.
Yeah, he's very beautiful.
We used to watch
Stunning.
the horses being born. We'd call my dad. He'd race home from his office. No freeways. It took an hour. All the neighbors would come, the vet would come, and we'd all be watching the baby horse being born. And then Daddy, when they grew up, he would break them, and I would ride them.
Well, you know, it was cowboy country here. You know Sharon Linsenbart. You're going to meet her. Sharon owns Farm Buddies Rescue Sanctuary over 53 years. She is the one that taught Wayne Newton how to ride.
Who is that?
Sharon Linsenbart, who owns the Las Vegas farm, who saves abused, abandoned, neglected farm animals. We've been trying to
Really?
get you out there.
Yeah.
She had a horse. In fact, the Roy Martin Junior High School mascot is a horse, which was her horse. I think the horse's name was Penny. And so Wayne and his brother would go to the schools to talk to the students.
Oh, wow. Yep.
In the, what do you call it, when they would have guest speakers and things, talk to the kids. And it was a big deal because they were, performers. Well, Sharon, and you know how she's bold. She went up to Wayne after they talked and performed to the kids. And she said, "Would you like to come see my horse?" And he says, "Well, yes, I would." And she says, "Well, it's right up the street." So she takes Wayne right up the street to where her grandparents started Acme Electric in the 1918s. So her family had a lot to do with founding Las Vegas and getting electricity. So she takes Wayne up, gets him on the horse. First time he was ever on a horse.
You're kidding.
And he still attributes her. So then
Yeah,
he would
because he
ride.
has
He would
all of
ride
his horses.
constantly after that, and then his love for horses
Yeah.
grew from that. But that was the first time he was ever on a horse, and it
I
was
never
Sharon.
knew that.
I
Yeah.
never knew that either.
I didn't.
That's
I've known
great
Sharon
know
for.
that.
I have known Sharon for years, and the stories that she has, and when they come out, because I got to talking to her about, and just between us girls here and you, Freddie. So I made the mistake of saying, so whatever, that's such a great story. And I know Wayne, I can't wait to, share it with him. Whatever happened to your horse? Wrong follow-up question. Well, and you know how Sharon's voice can be.
Yes.
She can turn on you on a dime. Well, my father liked to drink, and he got very drunk one night and was in a poker game and lost my horse in a bet. And her father, who was quite the his stories about her dad were quite something. She never, to this day, she never got over it. And he comes home and just takes the horse and just says, "Well, no, I'm gonna do. I lost her, in a poker game where your word was your word, right? They were gonna,
Sure.
whatever it was. And this guy had money. So I don't know how much he lost on him. He gambled, bet her horse, lost it. She was
See, those are
devastated.
stories you wouldn't hear other
No, you
than
never-
in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Well, she probably wouldn't tell that story.
You got the
We'll let her
gambling.
know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but it's that. Those are things that would happen only in Vegas.
that's right.
You're not
Only
getting
in
that
Vegas.
in any other
No,
city
probably
because of
not.
the combination of like kids we went to school with, sons and daughters of these guys, or musicians, or performers.
Mhm.
All kind of performers up and down the strip lived around you. The acrobats. There were so many show people, and it became, because we were kids and we grew up with it. It was like every day. That's
Yeah, that was your life.
It was
Yeah.
normal.
This is
Yeah.
your life. Yeah.
It was just real. And when I remember I got into radio and the consultants came in, and I thought the word meant, "Well, I'll take what you have to say under advisement." I would say, this is a 24-hour town. And I knew so many of our friends were musicians and heavily educated about all realms of music. So I wanted to play all kind of things. I didn't understand this limit. I didn't understand the business of radio as it is, because we were raised with, Joe Gershio, Elvis Presley's musical conductor. People like her. I know her since, so I'm pointing to Michelle Roll. People just incredibly talented. Michelle was the singer in your friend Joni Ceylon's son's band. She was the lead
See, all
singer.
these wonderful Showgirl connections.
Which that's
And
what
we're
we
gonna-
get growing up
yeah,
here.
Yeah, we're going to have to wrap this up, but we're gonna have to bring everybody back again because there's so many great
Well,
stories.
there's so much more to say.
There's so
Yeah.
much more to talk
Yes.
about. Yeah, but why don't we? I've got a couple of Showgirl hats that I always love to do, kind of a little Showgirl photo at the end. I even have a hat for Fred. And maybe since
Okay.
Michelle's in the studio, maybe Michelle can come in and say hello to everyone. Michelle, do you want to come in and say hello? Come on in and say hello to everybody while I'm getting hats.
Okay.
This is Michelle.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
How are you?
How are
Good
you?
to see you.
Joni?
Yeah.
Good to
Joni's
see
our
you. We
best
probably have
friend.
met before because Joni Ceylon was my boyfriend at the time in the band Ceylon. His
Fred.
mom.
Her boyfriend.
Her
Which way does
son
it go?
was
That's for Fred.
my boyfriend.
Oh, for Fred.
That's for me?
really?
Yeah,
Freddie?
Ricky.
All
Ricky
right.
Ceylon.
Oh, right. He's
You know,
good
Ricky.
looking.
Yeah,
one's
he's
yeah.
very
Oh my
good.
Michelle's an
gosh.
incredible
Wow.
singer.
I remember this.
That's
It's so
Yeah.
familiar.
Yeah.
Did you, and you
I
used
don't know if
to
I've
see
seen
us
it on
once
the-
in a while. You came to see us a couple times, I think, with Joni
Yes.
back
I
in the
just
day.
I think I have a
talked to her
picture of
last
me
night.
with
I
this.
talked to her almost every day.
In fact, you know what, I'm
Can you
always
imagine
putting these hats on.
71
So, Michelle,
years
do you wanna
ago
put
we
a hat on?
performed?
Oh my God.
Taking my wife to dinner tonight.
Oh,
There you go. I think it works.
Feel free
think
to
she'd like
borrow the hat. And
Oh
Cindy,
my
we're
gosh,
gonna
I've
put
always
this hat
wanted to
on
be a
you.
showgirl. Well, I was a showgirl, but not this kind of showgirl. How
Is that on? It's a
fun.
little tight.
We got to get
These
pictures.
are very small.
Amazing.
So let's everybody stand up and just kind of come together for a group shot. Michelle, come on over.
Okay, this way?
We want to stay on screen. Everybody like goes on.
I don't know if I can keep this on.
I got it.
Both
for you.
hands. Both. Oops,
Okay.
sorry,
I'll hold
Freddie.
it for you, Cindy.
Okay. I can get up.
You got to have both hands on it.
Yeah, these were small. I think there was some.
Yeah, this is
Because
great.
I have a big
It's
head.
tight.
Okay, here we go.
I do
Cindy, I'm gonna
too.
put this back on you. Okay, let's do quick group shot. Thank you for everybody for coming to the Showgirl Connection.
Thank you for hosting
It's those
us.
wonderful connections that makes the Showgirl Connection, and we'll see you on the next show.